Mahavir Raghunathan, Sean Galayle and Nabil Jeffrey are all examples of bad junior Formula drivers who made their way far too high up the motorsport ladder. But despite this, they were often accompanied by decent teammates during their motorsport journey. Think of Nick de Vries alongside Sean Galayle, Jordan King and Sergio Sette Camara partnering Raghunathan, or Callum Ilott briefly racing alongside Nabil Jeffrey. It's very rare that a junior team picks a team full of totally hopeless drivers. Well, in Formula 3 in 2020, we had exactly that. Formula 3 teams have to pick 3 drivers to race for them, and Campos probably had the worst lineup I've ever seen. Campos went from attracting some of the best junior talent around, bringing in names like Nando Norris, Alex Palou, Mitch Evans, to attracting these 3 for their 2020 campaign. It's quite sad how Campos have fallen in recent times, but this was certainly a new low for them. The 3 in question are Alex Peroni, the saving grace to this whole situation, Sophia Flourish, who whilst occasionally showed some great speed, she also really struggled to find any sort of consistency, and Alessio Deleda, who's about as quick as the 2014 Caterham if it had square tyres and an elephant sat on the rear wing. So, let's take a look at this situation. Campos 2020 Formula 3, the worst driver lineup of all time. We'll discuss each driver individually and then we'll come up with a judgment. We start with Alex Peroni, a young Australian who had driven the Campos in 2019. You might recognise him as the driver who had that almighty crash at Parabolica in 2019 when he hit a sausage curb and went flying over the catch fence. He was the shining light of a pretty dark season for Campos, taking 3 podiums in 2020, including a 2nd place in Barcelona. Whilst his teammates were often scrapping for the qualifying wooden spoon, Alex drove the car many times into the top 10 and even had a couple of reverse grid pole positions. Despite the fact that Formula 3 is a spec series, meaning all the cars are the same, some teams are better suited to setting up their cars around the circuits than others. There's a reason why Prema are always heading the field in Formula 3 compared to Genza or Campos at the back. The Campos was really not very good, and after a frustrating 2020 season, Alex left Formula Racing and headed across the pond to compete in Indy Lights, the feeder series to IndyCar, and it hasn't really been all sunshine for him over there. But, despite this, I think he's a top driver and will do well in the future. He dragged that Campos far higher up the field than his teammates could ever dream of, but that's about as good as it got for the Spanish outfit. Just before we get on to the other 2 drivers, if you are new around here, make sure to subscribe. I'm so close to 800 subs and it would really mean so much if you hit the big red button at the bottom. Right. On to these 2 then. Next up to discuss is Sophia Flourish. You might recognise her as the driver who ended up in the photography box in Macau in 2018 after suffering a horror accident at 175 miles an hour that wasn't her fault. It's one of motorsport's miracles that she's still alive today, and she came into the 2020 season having had a difficult time in 2019 in Formula Regional Europe, where her Van Amersfoort racing car just wasn't that good at all. That's not really her fault, and she came home in 7th place in the standings, which wasn't too horrendous. She scored a highest place finish of 4th place. However, on occasions where she was joined in that series by the highly rated Dan Ticktum, he was way quicker than her and even scored 2 second places. She didn't have a great time in Formula 3 either. Blocked on a really fast run in Monza, so started that race low down before recovering excellently to 12th, she scored no points for her efforts. She also got tangled in a few incidents over the season and just didn't have consistent pace. That's not ideal for a driver of her pedigree. She is still the first woman to score a podium in an FIA race. So, whilst there was some genuine speed shown by her, it just didn't happen all too frequently. I say all too frequently, I mean she showed pace maybe like twice. She capped off a difficult season with a spat with the German media and now races in DTM and WEC. Overall, her season was quite poor, and she did score no points, which isn't fantastic, but compared to the next teammate that we're going to talk about, she drove like prime Michael Schumacher. Last up is Alessio Deleda. Oh Alessio, where to begin with you? You know of Deleda as the bloke who failed to get within 107% of the F2 pole position time in Monaco. Wait, he's in Formula 2, I hear you shout at the top of your lungs. Yes, he does drive in Formula 2, but a bit like myself in open lobbies, it's almost always because he's driving out the back. He did not deserve his Formula 2 seat, he literally just bought it. But we're here to talk about his 2020 Formula 3 campaign, which was so poor it's unbelievable. If consistency was rewarded, then Deleda would have been champion. He literally finished outside the top 20 in every single round of the season. The only time he was in the top 20, he was exactly 20th, and that was in the first race at the Hungaroring. Like, how someone of this calibre even makes it quite far down the stepping stones towards Formula 1, and not just that, advances into Formula 2 with results so average it's laughable, it just shows the mess that is the Formula 1 ladder. He averaged a finish of P23. in the 2020 season. I know that's a topic for a totally new video talking about the motorsport ladder, but Deleda just showed us new levels of slow. Deleda and Flourish were scoring results that make myself and John Warren on our co-op career look like Senna and Prost. Deleda was laughably bad, and to be honest, there's not too much to say on the whole thing. 100% of the team's points in 2020 were scored by Alex Peroni. Anyway, this was just a brief dive into a pretty interesting topic, the worst driver lineup in motorsport history. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like and let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. Subscribe if you are new around here and you want to see Formula 1 content, and I will catch you in the next one. Later guys.